Hi, this is Nate Ulrich, Browns beat writer for the Akron Beacon-Journal with Steve Doerschuk, the Browns beat writer from the Canton Repository, and we're here to preview the Browns road game at Cincinnati a little bit. Steve, I'll start with this. This is a confident group coming off the bye. Demarius Randall, the Browns starting free safety, just said something today on our way out of the locker room, and I'll read the actual quote. And this is in relation to a question about what kind of difference would it make for the Bengals if they do not have seven-time Pro Bowl wide receiver A.J. Green on the field. Demarius said if they don't have A.J., they're getting their ass beat. So that's some bulletin board material for an AFC North rivalry game. Steve, what kind of difference, what kind of impact do you think A.J. Green has on that offense, and how huge would it be for the Browns if he's not out there?
I think Demarius Randall is absolutely right, except the caveat would be that the Browns aren't the sort of team that really whips on anybody's butt on a guaranteed basis. So I think Randall was a little bit foolish to say that, but in terms of the aspect of the Bengals aren't anywhere close to the same team without a player of that caliber, I've got to agree with that. He's their only star right now. That's the problem up here. There haven't been enough star-type players to carry an offense.
Yeah, he's missed the last two games with a toe injury. Both of those have been Bengals losses. This season in 8 games, he has 45 catches for 687 yards and 6 touchdowns. How about this one? In 13 games against the Browns, he has 62 catches, 953 yards, and 7 TDs. So he's been a Browns killer since the Bengals drafted him. Joe Hayden had some nice games against him, but overall, A.J. Green has really tormented the Browns over the years. Speaking of another guy who's tormented the Browns, Hugh Jackson. Let's face it, 3-36-1, out the doors Browns coach. 2 weeks later, he's with the Bengals. What do you think of this, Steve? In all your years covering the Browns, I don't think you've seen this.
If you were standing behind us right now, Nate, and he's walked this way a few thousand times, he would look at you, Nate, and say, Nate, that was really a cheap shot, but I get it. And in terms of you going down there, this makes perfect sense. The only problem for you relative to what had been his possible expectation, and that had been to be the Bengals head coach at some point when Marvin Lewis retires, is this situation up here, the whole experience, probably in my mind. And if I were in Mike Brown's shoes, I would be thinking the same way. The whole experience up here has poisoned Hugh Jackson as a candidate to be the head coach in Cincinnati. I can't imagine how Mike Brown or anyone else down there is going to sell you as a candidate to the season ticket holders down there. And I have some family and friends down that way, and I know that there's a lot of grumbling down there, and they need a spark, and it's not going to be you.
I hear you, and you know, here's what I think about this game, though. This is an interesting debate. Duke Johnson said it's a split decision in the locker room, and what he's talking about is this question: will Hugh Jackson have an impact on this game? Here's my thinking. Hugh Jackson did not win much here. You know, I poked a little fun at that record. You know, we all can laugh about it because we've been through it. It's history. But here's the bottom line. He knows the personnel of the Browns. He knows the playbooks of the Browns. I just can't get on board with thinking that won't help the Bengals at all. They should have the best scouting report they've ever had on the Browns. Yes, they play twice a year. Yes, they know each other. Yes, they can look at the game film. But I do think that there are some things that Hugh Jackson can help the Bengals prepare for that maybe they otherwise would not have done. Where are you at on that debate, Steve?
That there's a flip side to it, Nate. I've thought about this a little bit, and the fact that Ken Zampese is the quarterback's coach here is nearly as applicable in terms of having good spy information on the Bengals as you have spy information on the Browns. Zampese was with Marvin Lewis a lot longer than you was, and is still very well familiar with both sides of the ball down there. So I think that kind of equals out, and I don't think it'll be a huge factor.
That's a good point. And you're talking about quarterbacks coaching Zampese, so let's talk quarterbacks. Andy Dalton. Again, this goes back to A.J. Green and Andy Dalton with Green versus Andy Dalton without Green. But what's your sense and feel for Andy Dalton and how he can match up against this Browns defense?
In terms of Andy Dalton, looking at the big picture of Dalton, which is the way to look at the quarterbacks in this game, I think, and the Bengals have been on both sides of the fence. They've had a #1 overall, and they missed, in my opinion, on Carson Palmer. It wasn't anywhere close to being worth the #1 overall pick. They needed to hit that. They didn't. They were stuck in a rut as a fringe playoff team for a number of years. Same thing now with Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton is what you get in the second round when you wait until the second round to take a quarterback. And that is stuck in a little bit better rut, but still just a fringe playoff team. And the whole discussion of those two guys points to how essential it is for Baker Mayfield to pan out as the #1 overall pick here. You don't get those picks very often. You had better hit when you do.
And Mayfield, the last 2 games, has taken big strides statistically. The improvement is off the charts. This has coincided with a few things. The coaching changes. Todd Haley, Hugh Jackson out. Greg Williams as the interim coach. Freddie Kitchens as the offensive coordinator. New starting left tackle who's been protecting better, and Greg Robinson. That's really going to be helpful to a young quarterback. And I think there is some development and growth in Mayfield himself. How do you see those factors, and what do you attribute Mayfield's recent success to most of all?
Freddie Kitchens, and we saw it today, Nate. Todd's personality, Todd Haley's personality is very strong, and he maybe thinks he has the leadership gene, or maybe does, but Freddie Kitchens speaks Baker Mayfield's language. You can see how Freddie presents himself. He's a humorous guy. In fact, he said today something that was kind of funny. He said Baker Mayfield isn't nearly as funny as he thinks he is, but you can see those guys kind of jabbing each other in the ribs each and every day. That relationship, I think, is great. I think he's been good for Mayfield. His different concept of what Mayfield is able to do and translates well from the college game to here. It's all working together. So Freddie, I think, is really helping that whole situation.
All right, we'll get out of here on this, but the Browns are coming off a bye. The Browns are also on a 25-game road losing streak. If they lose in Cincinnati Sunday, they will tie the NFL record for the longest road losing streak with the Detroit Lions. Where are you at with this one, Steve? Browns-Bengals.
Well, given that long losing streak, I hope I don't regret this in the morning, but I feel that the Browns' vibe is such that relative to the Bengals' sinking vibe of getting destroyed recently by the Saints at Paul Brown Stadium, I like the Browns in this game.
I do too, and I like them even better if A.J. Green is out. So I agree with Demarius Randall that way, but I think I've got the Browns 27-24.